She does not love you. She never loved you. She just needed you to believe that she did. Does it hurt? Good. Pain is the only teacher that does not lie. Look at your reflection. Do you see that good man, that polite gentleman, who opens doors for her and tells her she is beautiful every morning? That man is invisible to her. Worse than invisible, he is predictable. And predictable, in the secret language of female desire, is synonymous with death. There is a monster that every woman carries written into her DNA. A monster she herself does not understand. A monster that makes her despise the man who adores her and crave the one who ignores her. Do you know why women say they want a sensitive man, but end up with the one who makes them cry? It is not masochism, it is pure biology. For millions of years, the women who survived were those who chose the warrior, not the poet, the hunter, not the philosopher, the man who could kill for her, not the one who died for her. And that program continues to run every damn day. You think love is communication, understanding, tenderness? She says she believes that too. She lies. Her body does not lie when it responds to the man who challenges her, who confronts her, who does not need her. Have you noticed how her eyes light up when she talks about the ex who treated her badly? How her voice changes when she mentions the arrogant boss everyone hates? That glow is not trauma. It is desire in its purest form. The monster that every woman desires is not violent, not abusive. It is something far more subtle and powerful. He is unpredictable. He is the man who cannot be tamed, categorized, or controlled. And you are an open book. She knows exactly what you will do, what you will say, how you will react. You are safe, you are stable, you are everything she says she wants. And for that very reason, you are everything her biology rejects. Schopenhauer knew it. Love is the species' deception to keep itself going. But he fell short. Love is not just deception, it is war. And in this war, the civilized man always loses. Do you know what a woman truly seeks when she says she wants emotional connection? She wants to feel, not to think, to feel. And the most powerful feelings do not come from safety. They come from uncertainty, from risk, from controlled danger. The monster she desires is the man who makes her doubt. Does he love me? Does he not? Will he call again? Is he with someone else? That emotional roller coaster is more addictive than any drug. And you, with your unconditional love and absolute availability, you are forced rehabilitation. You are methadone when she wants heroin. Napoleon conquered Europe, but could not conquer Josephine. Why? Because he needed her more than she needed him. He wrote desperate letters from the battlefield while she slept with others in Paris. The emperor of the world, reduced to an emotional beggar? Sound familiar? Of course it does, because you have begged too. You have pleaded for crumbs of attention while she threw banquets for those who never even asked. The monster does not beg. The monster is hungry, but not for her. He is hungry for conquest, for purpose, for power. And that hunger, the one she cannot satisfy, is exactly what drives her insane. Women are not masochists, they are unconscious evolutionary strategists. Their biology programs them to seek the man whose attention is valuable because it is rare. If your attention is free, unlimited, unconditional, then it is worth nothing. It is basic economics applied to desire. Do you remember when you were a child and you wanted that toy you could not have? How you desired it with every fiber of your being. And do you remember what happened when you finally got it? In 2 weeks, it was forgotten in a corner. You are that toy, available, predictable, forgettable. The monster is the toy behind the glass, always visible, never fully reachable. Man is a wolf to man, said Hobbes. He was wrong. Man is a lamb to woman when he forgets he was born a wolf. Do you want to know why your relationship died? Do not look at what you did wrong. Look at what you stopped doing right. You stopped being dangerous. Not dangerous in a physical sense, dangerous in an existential sense. You stopped being a force of nature and became just another piece of furniture in the house. Comfortable, useful, ignorable. The monster she desires has 3 characteristics that you have lost, or never had. First, a purpose greater than her. The monster does not live for her. She is a pleasurable addition to his life, not the center of it. He has a mission, an obsession, a conquest to pursue. And she knows it, she feels it, and she gets aroused by the idea of being the woman of a man like that, not the life project of an empty man. Second, the ability to say no. When was the last time you said no to something important? When did you prioritize your needs over hers? The monster says no naturally, without guilt, without explanation, and every no is an involuntary aphrodisiac. Third, emotional mystery. You vomit your feelings like a teenager in his first love. The monster keeps silences she desperately wants to fill. It is not calculated coldness, it is instinctive emotional economy. Aristotle spoke of potential and act. You are pure act. Everything is done, expressed, consumed. There is no potential, no mystery, no territory left to conquer. The monster is pure potential, contained energy that could explode at any moment, but chooses not to. That tension between what he could do and what he chooses to do is what keeps a woman on edge. Have you seen how she behaves with the man who does not reply to her messages right away? How she checks her phone obsessively? How each message from him is worth 100 of yours? It is not that he is better than you. It is that he understands, consciously or not, that female desire operates on tension, not satisfaction. You eliminate all tension. You reply in seconds. You are always available. You are a running faucet of attention and affection. And then you wonder why she prefers to die of thirst rather than drown in your ocean. Nietzsche screamed, "God is dead," but he forgot to add, "And with him died the last man that women could respect." The modern monster is not the gym alpha male who confuses muscles with masculinity. That is just another lamb in disguise. The true monster is more subtle, more lethal. He is the man who can destroy and chooses to build, who can hurt and chooses to heal. But she knows that he could destroy. That latent power is what excites her. Why do you think women fantasize about vampires, mafia men, dangerous men tamed? It is not the violence that attracts them, it is the contained power. The beast who chooses to be a prince, but who could become a beast again if the situation required it. You have no beast. You killed it years ago on the altar of the modern, sensitive man. You sacrificed it to be accepted, loved, validated, and with it, your deepest attractiveness died. Women smell weakness like sharks smell blood. Not consciously, it is not evil, it is evolutionary survival. A woman cannot trust her life and the lives of her children to a man who cannot even protect himself. Protect himself from what in the 21st century? Not from bears or invaders, from mediocrity, from conformity, from spiritual death, which is living without purpose. The monster protects himself from all of that with a ferocity she recognizes and desires. Look at how women react to men obsessed with their work, their art, their mission. They criticize them, yes. They complain that they do not pay them enough attention. But they never leave them. They never leave them. Because deep down, they know that being with a man who has something more important than them is the greatest female privilege. It is paradoxical. She wants to be the most important thing in your life, but she will despise you if she succeeds. This is the trap you fell into. You made her your world, and by doing so, you showed her that your world was very small. So small that it fit entirely in her hands, so small that she could crush it whenever she wanted. The monster has a world so vast that she can barely take it in with her gaze, and she spends her life trying to conquer more territory in that world, knowing that she will never conquer it all. That is the difference between you and the monster. You give her a conquered kingdom. He offers her an eternal war. And guess what a woman prefers? Biology does not lie, culture does. And you have believed every cultural lie about what women want. Women want equality. A lie. They want a man they can admire upward, not sideways. Women want emotional vulnerability. Half-truth. They want to see it, not live it. They want to know you can feel, not that your feelings control you. Women want a best friend. The biggest lie of all. They already have girlfriends for that. From you, they want something they cannot get from any friend, sexual polarity. The monster understands that female attraction works through polarity. Masculine and feminine are not social constructs. They are opposite magnetic forces that attract each other violently. You have neutralized your polarity. You have become emotionally androgynous, not too masculine to avoid being toxic, not too feminine to avoid seeming weak. You are the dead zone where no current flows. The monster is pure current. High voltage, dangerous to touch, but impossible to ignore. Do you know why women constantly test men? Little provocations, unnecessary drama, irrational demands. It is not cruelty, it is a polarity check. They are checking if you are still a man or if you have already become another girlfriend with a penis. You fail every test. You give in, you apologize, you seek peace at any cost, and with every session, her vagina dries up a little more. The monster does not seek conflict, but he is not afraid of it. When she presses, he becomes immovable, not with violence, but with the calm of someone who knows he has nothing to prove. There is a scene that repeats itself in millions of bedrooms. She starts a fight over nothing. He tries to reason, to calm her, to solve it. The fight drags on. He gives in to have peace. She goes to bed with her back to him, as dry as the Sahara. Now imagine the scene with the monster. She starts the fight. He looks at her, smiles, and goes back to what he was doing. She follows him, yelling. He grabs her by the waist, looks her in the eyes without saying a word, and kisses her. End of the fight, beginning of desire. What is the difference? The first negotiates from weakness. The second acts from strength. Women do not want to win these battles. They want to know they are with a man who could win them all, but chooses his battles wisely. They want the monster who could devour them, but lets them live. Do you want to know the darkest secret of female desire? It is not that they want to be dominated. It is that they want to choose who they allow to dominate them. And they do not choose you because your dominance is fake. It is a pose. It is acting learned from cheap seduction manuals. The monster does not act dominant. He is dominant over himself. First and foremost, he dominates his impulses, his fears, his need for validation. And from that natural self-mastery, everything else flows. You cannot even control your urge to check her Instagram every hour. Hierarchy exists, whether you like it or not. In every human interaction, it is decided who leads and who follows. And in your relationship, even if you are the CEO of a company, even if you earn millions, even if you are 2 meters tall, she leads. How do I know? Because the one who needs more always loses power, and you need her like air. She knows it, she smells it, she uses it. The monster flips the equation. Not because he does not feel, he feels deeply, but his life does not depend on those feelings. He can love and lose and still remain himself. That emotional self-sufficiency is the most powerful aphrodisiac that exists. Whoever loves more, suffers more. Said some suicidal poet, he was right, but he drew the wrong conclusion. The answer is not to stop loving, it is to love from abundance, not from lack. You love like a beggar, desperate, grateful for any crumb, terrified of losing the little that you have. The monster loves like a king, generous because he can afford to be, selective because he has options, calm because he knows that if this woman leaves, others will come. It is not arrogance, it is reality. The man who builds himself, who has purpose, who does not beg for validation, will always have options. And women know it, they sense it, and they compete to be chosen by him. While you compete with all the men in the world for a woman who no longer desires you, nature is wise and cruel. It rewards the strong and punishes the weak. And the greatest weakness is not physical or financial, it is emotional. It is needing too much. It is being unable to be alone. It is defining yourself by who loves you instead of by who you are. The monster is comfortable in his own skin, alone or accompanied, loved or rejected. His value does not rise and fall with the emotional stock market of his relationship. Yours does, rising and crashing like Bitcoin on a panic day. There is an exact moment when you lost, a moment you can trace if you are honest. The moment you stopped being her lover and became her emotional son was when you began to ask for permission instead of informing her of decisions. When you started asking, "Is this okay?" instead of saying, "I am going to," When your happiness began to depend on her mood. Women do not want emotional sons. They already have enough with the biological ones. From a man, they want a potential father, not another child to care for. The monster never asks permission to be himself. He informs, includes, considers, but never begs for approval. His life is his own. She is welcome to share it, not to control it. Do you know what kills more relationships than infidelity? Predictability. The existential boredom of knowing exactly what you will do, say, think. You're a movie she has seen 1,000 times, and it was not even very good the first time. The Monster is a series full of plot twists, not out of artificiality, but out of authenticity, because a man who pursues his own interests, who grows, who changes, who evolves, is inherently unpredictable. You stopped growing the day you conquered her. You rested on your laurels, got comfortable, emotionally fat, predictable like the seasons. Schopenhauer wrote, "To conquer without risk is to triumph without glory." But you did not even conquer. You were gifted territory and called it victory. And now you wonder why she wants to migrate to wilder lands. The monster never stops conquering, not necessarily other women. He conquers new territories within himself, new skills, new challenges, new versions of who he can become. That conquering energy is what women find irresistible, not the result, but the process. Masculine energy in its purest state, that transforms, that builds, that destroys the old to create the new. You destroyed that energy the day you said, "I already have her. Now I can relax." As if female desire were an exam you pass once and for all, as if it were not a fire that needs constant fuel. And your fuel ran out years ago. The monster is a refinery of infinite fuel, because his fire does not burn for her, it burns for himself. She simply enjoys the heat when she comes close enough. But you burned all your fire trying to keep her warm, and now both of you are cold. The most brutal truth. She did not leave you for another, she left you for the hope of finding another. The fantasy of another man was worth more than the reality of you? It hurts, right? Good. I already told you, pain is the only honest teacher. The monster she is looking for is not on Tinder, is not at the gym, is not her co-worker. He is an archetype, an energy, a promise of something more than the emotional mediocrity you represent. Do you know what women are really looking for when they say they want a spark? They want to feel alive, and you, my friend, are pure formaldehyde. You preserve, you do not vitalize, you maintain, you do not transform. The monster is pure vital energy, chaotic, sometimes destructive, but always alive, always in motion, always creating or destroying something. Napoleon did not conquer Europe for women, but women fell in love with him because he was conquering Europe. Do you understand the difference? Masculine ambition directed outward is the most potent aphrodisiac. The ambition to conquer a woman is the most repellent energy. The monster hungers for the world, not for a woman, and paradoxically, or perhaps logically, that makes him irresistible to them. You hunger for approval, for validation, for her to tell you that you are enough, and you never will be. Because enoughness is not begged for, it is conquered. And it is conquered on battlefields that have nothing to do with her. When was the last time you did something that scared you, that challenged you, that made you grow? Not for her, for you. The monster lives at the edge of his comfort zone, not for cheap adrenaline, but for constant growth. Because he knows that the man who does not grow dies, first on the inside, then in her eyes. You died years ago. You keep walking, talking, working, but you are dead. You are an emotional zombie who confuses routine with life. The monster could die tomorrow, and he would have lived more in one day than you have in a decade. That intensity of existence is what women look for. Not drama, intensity, presence, concentrated life, but you dilute your life in Netflix, in beer, in empty conversations about nothing with people you do not care about, doing things that mean nothing. And then you wonder why she seeks meaning in someone else's arms. Do you want to know why the monster works? Because he does not try to work. It is not a strategy, it is a consequence. A consequence of what? Of being a man who respects himself more than any woman, who values his time, his energy, his attention as the limited resources they are. You give all of that away as if it were infinite, as if your life would last 1,000 years, as if your energy regenerated magically, as if your dignity did not matter. The monster is stingy with what matters, and generous with the superficial. You are the exact opposite. You give your soul for a smile and haggle over cents at dinner. Nietzsche spoke of the Überman. He did not mean physical strength, he meant the will to power, to create your own values, to not live for the validation of the herd. The monster is Nietzsche's son. He does not follow the rules of the social game, he creates his own. And, curiously, magically, others want to play by his rules, especially women. Because a woman would rather be the second choice of an extraordinary man than the only choice of an ordinary one. It is not logical. It is not fair. It is not what they say they want. But desire does not understand logic, fairness, or words. Desire understands energy, presence, power. Not power over others, but power over oneself. The power to say no, to walk away, to be alone, to not need. You have none of those powers. You are a slave to your need, a prisoner of your fear of abandonment, a hostage to your own weakness disguised as love. The monster is free. Free to love her or leave her, free to include her or exclude her, free to be himself without asking permission or forgiveness. That freedom is terrifying for an emotionally castrated man like you. But it is pure narcotic for a woman who is tired of men who crawl. Do you know what the cruelest irony is? The more you chase her, the faster she runs. The more you need her, the less she desires you. The more you love her, in your needy, desperate way, the more she despises you. The monster does not chase. He attracts. He does not need, he enjoys. He does not love desperately. He loves dangerously, with the calm of one who knows he can survive any loss. And that calm, that certainty, that emotional self-sufficiency is what drives her mad. Because it reminds her that she is not indispensable either, that she too is mortal, that she too can be replaced. And nothing excites a woman more than a man who can live without her. Here we are, at the end of the road. And you know what? There is no happy ending, no redemption, no magic formula to become the monster. Because the monster is not made, he is discovered. He is buried under layers of social conditioning, of learned fears, of lies repeated until believed. You do not need to become someone else. You need to stop pretending to be someone you are not. The monster every woman desires is not a sociopath, is not an abuser, is not an idiot with abs. He is a man who respects himself more than he desires her, who has a life bigger than any relationship, who can love deeply but survive perfectly alone. He is the man you were before fear castrated you. Do you remember when you were a child and you feared nothing? When the world was your playground, not your prison? When you did not need permission to be happy? That wild child is the father of the monster. But you killed him. You sacrificed him on the altar of responsible adulthood. You traded him for security, for acceptance, for the promise of unconditional love that never came. And here you are, alone all the same. But now without dignity, without purpose, without fire. The monster is not perfect. He makes mistakes, he has fears, he doubts, but he does something you stopped doing long ago. He acts in spite of fear. He lives in spite of uncertainty. He loves in spite of the risk of losing. He does not act to impress women, he acts to impress himself. And that is the fundamental difference. You live for others, especially for her. Your mood depends on hers. Your day is good if she smiles. Your life has meaning if she loves you. The monster lives for his mission. Women are a pleasurable complement, not the main course. They are the salt that adds flavor, not the food that sustains him. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." What have you done repeatedly? Beg, plead, need, yield, pretend. What does the monster do repeatedly? Conquer, building, destroy what no longer serves, advance, be. You do not need a manual, you do not need a course, you do not need permission. You need to remember who you were before you forgot who you are. You need to stop chasing women and start chasing the best version of yourself. You need to understand that the monster they desire is not something you put on like a costume. It is something you unleash from within. It has always been there, watching, hungry. The question is not whether you can become him. The question is whether you have the balls to let him out. Because once he comes out, there is no going back. You will never again be the tame man who begs for crumbs. You will not be able to settle for a second-hand life. You will not be able to pretend that mediocrity is enough. And that is terrifying. That is why so few do it. That is why there are so few monsters and so many lambs. That is why she left you for the promise of one. Wake up. Not because I say so, not because she wants it, but because it is already too late to keep sleeping. And when you wake up, when you finally let the monster out, do not do it for her or for the next one. Do it for the boy you were and betrayed. Do it for the man you could have been and buried alive. Do it because the alternative is dying having lived someone else's life. Desire thrives on unpredictability. Desire, like any human drive, intensifies. When the reward is not constant nor guaranteed, if you are always available, if you are always the one to initiate intimacy, if you are always ready to please, your reward loses value. Most men make the mistake of becoming dispensers of constant pleasure, not realizing that excessive availability kills longing. Machiavelli, a master of using reward to maintain loyalty, or in this case, desire, would say, "Men love at their convenience, but fear at your discretion." In this context, the fear is her fear of not knowing when or if. That reward, your desire, will return. Your mistake, you become a never-ending source of sexual attention, a faucet she can turn on at will. The Machiavellian solution: manage your rewards selectively. This does not mean denying her sex or affection. It means that access to your intimacy, your desire, your sexual energy is not a right. It is earned and it must be maintained. Create moments of intensity, then step back with subtle distance. Let her miss you. Let her crave the next encounter. Do not always be the one to initiate. Let her chase you. Let her feel she must earn your attention, that she must remind you why she excites you. When desire is not guaranteed, when there is just enough uncertainty about when and how the spark will return, she invests more in you. Her mind becomes obsessed with earning your attention, with reconquering your desire. The scarcity of reward activates her dopamine system, creating a cycle of craving and satisfaction that keeps her constantly wanting more of you. You become the one man who gives her that dopamine high that never settles into monotony. Manipulation or mastery. Now I know what many might be thinking. A voice in your head may have whispered, "Is this manipulation?" Let me answer clearly and unapologetically, no. Let me define harmful manipulation. Lying, deceiving, coercing to control another person, stripping them of their will and using them for personal gain, causing harm. That is not what we are doing here. What we have discussed is reading the terrain, understanding the nature of human desire, recognizing the psychological dynamics already in play in every sexual interaction, whether you are aware of them or not. This is using what already exists. The only difference is, this time, you play with strategic awareness. You are not the one being played. Think about it. Does she not respond to mystery? Does she not respond to authority? Does she not crave what is hard to get? Does she not hide secret fantasies? Does she not get bored when pleasure is always available? Yes, these are human predispositions, and when triggered properly, they awaken the most powerful desire. She is operating by instinct, without thinking of the rules. You, by understanding the rules, you now have the opportunity to become conscious, to be strategic, to be intentional in how you ignite and sustain that fire. This is not about being a predator, it is about becoming a master in the art of attraction.